Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. My guest was the editor-in-chief of the newspaper Cumhuriyet in Turkey. He now lives in exile in Germany and has become a symbol of the struggle of the press under the rule of Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Turkey. The Turkish president himself filed a criminal campaign against Mr. Dündar back in 2015 after his newspaper published explosive reports alleging that Turkey's intelligence services were secretly sending weapons to Islamist rebels in Syria. Charged with espionage, Mr. Dündar was detained for several months. He escaped unharmed from an armed assault in front of the trial court. And after being released from pre-trial custody, he decided to leave Turkey and received a 6-year sentence in absentia. Thank you very much for joining us.
I thank you.
Mr. Dündar, obviously, your exile in Germany caused and is still causing a lot of trouble between Turkey and Germany. Is it because you're a well-known person, or is it because those reports I mentioned put the finger on a very, very sensitive issue in Turkey, especially for President Erdogan?
Yeah, I guess the second option is much more true because, my story was about an illegal operation of the Turkish intelligence service. It was an international crime, so it was not me, but the government who must be, judged and must be sentenced maybe. And that's why they are trying to hide their crime and just pointing out me and accusing me for being a spy or a terrorist. But of course, the rest of the world know the situation, and that's why this is a problem between two countries.
Right. There have been pressure, obviously, on the German authorities not to allow you in, but you feel that Germany is on your side in this fight?
Not only Germany, but many countries and many journalist associations and NGOs in the world defending human rights and press freedom and freedom of expression. And that's the way it should be, because I'm a journalist and I'm doing my job, and the story is true. Nobody denied that from the government side, so it shouldn't be a problem in the civilized world. But if you are doing a crime by the government, then of course you must be hiding it, and that's why they are in panic.
Why did you decide to leave? I mentioned this incident. We probably remember those images of a gunman maybe trying to take your life during one of the trials. Was this really the trigger that pushed you to say, I'm not going to wait because my life is in danger in my country?
Yeah, of course. Imagine a president who pointed out a journalist and threatened him by myself and saying that this journalist will pay a heavy price. And he said it in a TV show. And afterwards, I was, shot at in front of the courthouse, which is the most secure place. It should be the most secure place in the country. So not only this life danger, but at the same time, there's no rule of law anymore. How can we, expect justice from a courthouse who is controlled by the government now? And that's why I decided to stay for a while outside Turkey.
Right. Are you saying that this attempt, you think, was something that was coordinated by the president, by the government, or was it just that they created such an atmosphere where people would feel the way this person felt and took a gun and tried to take your life?
I guess the gunman was inspired, at least, by the president himself. And if you show someone, a journalist, as a target to the people, that can be the result of it. So he should have known that. And that's why not only me, all the journalists in Turkey who are searching for truth are in danger now.
Right. Obviously, there is a context that has dramatically changed after the failed coup back in July. I think over 120 journalists have been arrested, which puts Turkey basically at the top of the list of countries jailing journalists. How bad is the situation? I know some of the editors and journalists at Cumhuriyet are still in legal trouble, but they're not the only one.
Unfortunately not. Well, I've been a journalist for 37 years now, and this is the worst period of time in my life and in Turkey's history, I guess. We've never seen such a crackdown before, even during the military coup times in 80s or so. And imagine that our paper's editor-in-chief, 4 writers, 3 lawyers, even the tea maker was in jail. So 11 of them in jail now, together with 100, now 50, I guess, journalists. And thousands of other cases against journalists in Turkey, mainly because of their critical positions. So this is really the worst case in our history, and Turkey is the biggest jail for journalists in the world. So really, this is the worst period of time in our history.
Are you disappointed by the reaction of Western powers, especially Europe, vis-à-vis Turkey on this issue? We know there are other issues between Europe and Turkey, the situation in Syria, the refugee issue. Are you disappointed that Europe is maybe not as vocal as you would like Europe to be on this issue?
Well, I am totally and deeply disappointed by the attitude of Europe because of the refugee deal. I mean, the deal was Turkey promised to keep the refugees in Turkish soil, not sending them to Europe. And in return, I'm afraid Turkey bought their silence and got some money. And really, we've been struggling for Western ideals like freedom of press, freedom of expression, democracy, secularism, equality of men and women, and against an oppressive government. And in Europe in general, France, for example, why they are so silent about this and how they can, keep the silence against this oppression. So really disappointing. And Turkish government, and especially Erdogan, is giving the example of France while supporting the state of emergency, showing that France has the same rule at the moment. And I don't know how many journalists you have in France jails. So someone should explain him that this is something totally different. But really, unfortunately, they keep their silence. And I want them to be more vocal about those human rights issues in Turkey.
Would you say Turkey is now a dictatorship? There is a forthcoming referendum to change the system and make it a truly presidential system that is scheduled for April 16th. But I would say regardless of the results from this referendum, do you already consider that Recep Tayyip Erdogan is a dictator today?
Well, he will be, if he wins this referendum, he will be controlling the whole state machinery together with the judiciary. So Turkey will decide between a democracy and dictatorship on the 16th of April. So it is crucial, most important election, maybe the last election of Turkey's history. So that's why we are just struggling for it. And it's 50-50 yes and no, according to the opinion polls now. And it is very crucial moment in Turkey's history. So from then on, it will be very difficult to stop him anymore.
Right. What do you make of the accusations that the crackdown, the justification, I should say, that the crackdown is because of this coup attempt and the fact that people who are faithful to the exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen have infiltrated all the state apparatus and even institutions, including the media. Is there some truth to this, or are you saying this is just a pretext for an authoritarian crackdown?
Well, this Gülen movement was in place and to the state machinery by Erdogan, and they were hand in hand governing this country. And if there was a crime, they were, partners. And then they separated, and Erdogan starts, blaming them. And we've been, warning the government about the danger of this movement, but they didn't care at that time. And now, ironically, the government is against them and accusing us for being Gülenists. It's really strange and ironic. But I guess the military intervention attempt was something serious, and thanks God we survived from that. But Erdogan has been using it as an excuse to enhance his power, and hundreds of thousands of people were under custody at the moment, and he controlled the press and state of emergency, using state of emergency as a martial law, and that's why he said it was a gift of God for him, this military intervention attempt, and he's been using it for his power.
Can Dündar, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for watching this edition of The Interview on France 24.